WWE.com live recap of Monday Night Raw for June the 14th, 2021. We have the WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view this coming Sunday. Shout out to the chat room watching this live. I appreciate your viewership and support. Let's go ahead and get started with this Raw recap. We kicked off with Alexa Bliss backstage, and she talked about how she got complaints about what Lily had done to Shayna Baszler on last week's show, basically terrorizing Shayna. Alexa said that she had good intentions with Shayna Baszler. However, things got out of hand. And because of that, Alexa had to put Lily in time out. Interesting here. I wonder if WWE decided, because of the negative feedback last week, to make this part of the storyline with Lily being in timeout and Alexa addressing the complaints about what Lily did, when the actual complaints were, well, the segment sucked, but in storyline, it was because people were so outraged and upset about this evilness that Lily put on Shayna Baszler. Anyways, it was revealed that Alexa will be facing Shayna in a match this Sunday at Hell in a Cell. Nia Jax showed up and basically challenged Alexa to a match on Raw. Alexa at first cried and was upset about this, but then laughed and accepted Nia Jax's challenge. We had our first match of the evening, which was Charlotte Flair versus Nikki Cross. And hey, it must be Monday, right? Because we had Rhea Ripley interrupting before the first commercial break. You know, the same thing they do pretty much every single week. And Nikki went for a roll-up, got a near fall. And after the commercial break, well, you had Rhea Ripley sitting there at ringside. And of course, you got to have Charlotte on the outside of the ring, getting in Rhea Ripley's face. But then she got so preoccupied with Rhea Ripley on the outside, she lost her sense of hearing. The referee was counting, and Charlotte Flair got counted out. So Nikki Cross once again defeats Charlotte Flair and continues her streak on Monday Night Raw. How exciting is this? And after the match was over, Charlotte attacked Nikki. Rhea Ripley made the save and then hit the riptide to Charlotte. So there you go. And then we had a backstage segment with Matt Riddle and Jeff Hardy. Hardy had some advice for Matt Riddle with his eyes closed, but of course he has the eyes covering his eyelids. You know how Jeff Hardy is with his face paint. And Riddle started to ramble, and Jeff Hardy took his leave. Randy Orton appeared, and Riddle said that he would not let Randy Orton down this week. Of course, last week Riddle lost. This week there was a tag match, New Day versus Orton and Riddle. And Orton said, just do not try to be him. Of course, last week the downfall was when Riddle tried to hit the RKO, and then he ended up losing to Kofi Kingston. We had another match here with John Morrison versus Jeff Hardy. Miz was there in a wheelchair, and right off the bat, you had Morrison using the drip stick on Hardy before the match even got started. We had another interruption, this time from Cedric Alexander, who did not interfere, but he was at ringside. You had Morrison picking up the win without the interference via the Starship Pain. And then afterwards, Cedric got on the mic. He apologized for not showing Jeff Hardy respect. However, because Jeff was a sore winner, I should say, last week, Cedric said that he only apologizes that he did not end Jeff Hardy's career. And Jeff Hardy responded by saying that if Cedric could beat him right there in an impromptu match, he would retire from wrestling. So Jeff Hardy putting his career on the line in some random match on Monday Night Raw. Anyways, Jeff won. Cedric's going nowhere. I mean, did anybody expect him to go anywhere? Twist of fate, Jeff Hardy picks up the victory. Not much to say about it. And Mike B says, is Miz's injury legit or storyline? Apparently it's a legitimate injury. And he's just doing the wheelchair thing, you know, to play up on it and stay on TV for the time being. All right, so next up was a really interesting segment. The highly anticipated re-debut of the great Eva Marie, or so we thought. So WWE announced Eva Marie versus Naomi. And of course, Twitter was very upset about this. People knew what was going to happen here. It was not going to be a good scenario for Naomi. But as it turns out, it wasn't Eva Marie that did the match. Eva Marie came to the ring with her new, I guess, bodyguard, Piper Niven, who is from NXT UK. She's been around in WWE for a few years in the UK brand. Now, the announcers had no idea who she was. Whether this was kayfabe or not, the announcers were trying to figure out who this woman was. Way to make the NXT UK brand look like crap. I mean, I don't watch it, but I know some people do. Doesn't really help matters when you don't know who this person is. So anyways, Piper made very short work of Naomi, and I hope they switch Naomi over to SmackDown, give her a fresh start, put her in there with Roman Reigns and the Usos. I mean, she's done on Raw. Like, you pretty much just squashed her here. Get her over to SmackDown. And after this match was over, Eva Marie declared herself the winner, even though Piper did the work. So, yeah. They're essentially rehashing the Eva Marie storyline from 2016. Like, it's literally the same thing. Eva Marie is announced for a match, and then she doesn't wrestle for whatever reason. Okay. Why bring her back if you're just going to rehash what you already did? Like, I figured you would bring her back and actually have her wrestle. Maybe she'll wrestle, I don't know, but don't really care much about any of this. Happy for Piper to get an opportunity, but, you know, I wish they would do more with Naomi. Did it have to be Naomi to get squashed like this in 2 minutes? And we had backstage Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. For some reason, they were doing a photo shoot while Natalya and Tamina were training, and they did not appreciate the noise. This was very random. And Natalya started making fun of Mandy and Dana for only being there due to their looks. And they responded by saying Natalya and Tamina would not have gotten their foot in the door. The door would have been shut if they were not related to wrestlers from a previous generation. Of course, Natalya's dad, Jim Neidhart, and Jimmy Superfly Snuka. Marquand 1976 with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Says, Aaron, the Eva Marie match. Are you surprised? Really? In Miz voice. Really? I know, right? I should not have expected much from that. I really should have expected some kind of shenanigans. But I actually thought they were going to do something with Eva Marie for once, but not this week at least. And Darren says, I really don't see Eva Marie as anything special, to be honest. Well, as Mr. Tito says, she's hot, so she's got that going for her. Anyways, a fight broke out in this ring between Natalya and Tamina and Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, and I don't care. I mean, they need to get some new faces in the women's division, especially the tag part of the women's division. We had Drew McIntyre cutting a promo for his match with Bobby Lashley, and he referred to Lashley as, hold on to something here, Trashly. Yes, Trashly. I'm pretty sure whoever scripted this line also scripted when John Cena spray painted JBL's limo and wrote JBL as poopy. Trashly. All right, what are we in third grade now with Drew McIntyre? And then he did another one of his long-winded stories. Like, what are they doing with Drew? Like, are they trying to get people to hate Drew now? Because it's working. I'm really starting to get sick of him. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, is Jinder Mahal more over than Eva Marie? No, he is not, unfortunately. Darren says, Aaron, Carla says you make her laugh for being so bluntly honest. Well, I try. I try to give everybody a fair review of the show. I do time and time again. Drives me nuts, but I never sugarcoat it. Like, if it sucks, it sucks. If it's good, it's good. And I will just, as Jesse Ventura said, I call it like I see it. All right, so moving on here. We had New Day versus RK Bro, which was, I thought, the easy highlight of this show. Like, not even up for debate. Like, this was a really good match. I would recommend it. If you're going to watch anything from Raw, watch this tag team match. It was really good. New Day had a hot start. RK Bro got control for a while. Kofi got a hot tag. He missed the tip. And Riddle tagged in, hit the floating bro. Kofi kicked out of that. We had a commercial. Pretty long match here. They went back and forth for a while. And then New Day did a double team with the double stomp to the chest. Kofi coming off the top. Riddle did a nice bridge kick out. I really liked the kick out. And then he got the tag to Orton. Orton came in. And Xavier came off the middle rope and got hit with the RKO. Nice finish to the match. RK Bro picks up the victory. And you know what? This match wasn't just some random pointless match because it furthered a storyline that's going on with MVP and Kofi Kingston, which I'll get to in a few minutes. So not only did we get a good match, but they had a match that, wow, what a concept here. Advances a storyline. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that shortly. But yeah, really good match. And we had another match between Asuka and Rhea Ripley. Yeah, like fourth or fifth one now since WrestleMania. Match was all right, but I didn't really care about it. We've seen it a bunch of times, and we all know Rhea Ripley's not going to lose to Asuka right before the pay-per-view. So hard to get into this one. Rhea Ripley won with the Riptide, and then afterwards, they did a post-match angle with Charlotte. She ran down, and there was a big brawl. It was the classic pull-apart brawl, which was better than most because of the Thunderdome. The fact that we did not have the let them fight chance, which the fans do every time they do one of these pull-apart brawls. It was a pull-apart brawl. Like, it is what it is. I'm sick of them. Does nothing for me because I've seen a million of them, but the live crowds always eat them up. But they did it at the Thunderdome, and, well, I'm sure some people at home liked it, I guess. We had Lashley cut a promo for his match with McIntyre and said he's going to publicly execute Drew McIntyre and mount his head on a stick. I wish he meant that literally and not figuratively. I would like to see that, quite frankly. Like, that could be one final thing before the Thunderdome era ends. They could actually use CGI effects and have Drew McIntyre's head on a stick. You might as well, with all the wild crap you've done with the Fiend. Like, hell, you might as well do it. You set the Fiend on fire. You've done all these crazy things. Might as well have Drew McIntyre's head mounted on a stick. Dr. NXT Scorpio with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. It says, after Hell in a Cell, I don't want to see Flair, Asuka, and Rhea in the same ring ever again for the rest of the year. Well, unfortunately for you, Dr. NXT Scorpio, we still have a couple of months left before the draft, which is going to be apparently at the end of August. You got about 2 to 3 more months of them in some kind of combination. I'm going to go on record and say you will likely see at least one more Rhea Ripley and Asuka match before there's a draft and one of them gets switched over to the other brand. Moving on here, we had Alexa Bliss versus Nia Jax, which was set up at the beginning of the show. And this was Alexa's first match in a couple months. She rarely wrestles now, so it was a nice change of pace to get her in the ring. She did some strange movements, and Nia did get the advantage for a while, but she missed a leg drop, and Alexa started making these scary faces, and she got back into the zone. But then Reginald got on the apron. However, that backfired, and Alexa hit the DDT. She hit the Twisted Bliss and was about to win the match, but then Reginald interfered, causing a DQ, and then Alexa, I guess, did the Michael Myers head tilt and hypnotized Reginald before taking her leave. So they did a DQ. I guess it was all right, better than what we saw last week with Shayna Baszler. And no Shayna on this show. They kept her off TV, but they did announce the match, Alexa versus Shayna, for Sunday. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, prediction, the Fiend will screw over McIntyre at Hell in a Cell. Could happen. Got to find a way to screw over McIntyre, I suppose. I would not rule that out as a possibility. All right, next up, we had the follow-up to that tag match from earlier. We had MVP backstage with the New Day. And, of course, last week MVP was trying to convince Kofi to maybe join the Hurt Business. MVP said Kofi Mania is dead and gone. And Kofi is just wasting his career in tag teams. And brought up how Xavier got pinned, not Kofi. Yet Kofi is still a loser because of association. Kofi was not amused by this. He told MVP to shut his mouth and said that he'll never say MVP is in the right. MVP then responded by wishing Kofi Kingston luck in his Hell in a Cell match on Sunday. Oh, wait a minute. Kofi doesn't have one. Burn by MVP. I like the segment, but New Day, they've always been so adamant that they'll never break up. They're never going to turn against each other, but I hope they do it. I still have my doubts, but I'm crossing my fingers because I'd like to see something different. And I know New Day, they were hell-bent on being the one team to never break up, but I hope this is going somewhere interesting. And it's not just a waste of time. That's my fear, because so far this is one of the few storylines on Raw that I'm intrigued about. Like the potential of maybe Xavier Woods turns heel. They kind of do the Ted DiBiase, Tatanka, Lex Luger storyline where MVP is acting like he wants Kofi, but in reality, Xavier Woods is the one that he's talking to behind closed doors. I'd be interested in that. I'd like that if they did a modern day version of that. So anyways, let me get to a few of these super chats here. Dr. NXT Scorpio with the $2 super chat says, Lily is in timeout because that segment sucked. Pretty much. I mean, that was my feeling when Alexa said that at the beginning, that legitimately WWE decided to drop that character. We'll see if it comes back, though. Maybe Shayna will become the living embodiment of Lily. I saw somebody, or at least a few people, mention that on social media. And Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says, I mentioned that already. Maybe Fiend will screw over McIntyre. Walter Cruz with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Walter. I appreciate it. Says, will just Kofi turn heel or Woods also? Hopeful. Also, I hope just Kingston. Would be nice to see him as part of the Hurt Business. Hope it leads to this. I'd be fine with Kofi turning, but like I mentioned a moment ago, if it's Xavier, I'd be fine with that too, and it'd be an interesting twist. I mean, either one. It could be both guys, but one would be fine just to change things up a little bit. Like, if this doesn't go anywhere and it's just New Day staying together, then yeah, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm hoping this does lead to a turn. They really need to shake things up with the New Day and do something different, in my opinion. And Charles Coleman with a $2 super chat says, this Alexa Bliss stuff is lame. Reginald is too. I completely agree with you about Reginald. Like, it's been a tough watch with him. Alexa started off great, in my opinion, and kind of took a turn for the worse. This week was a little better. At least they got Alexa in the ring, and they got rid of Lily this week. So that was a positive. We had Elias versus Jackson Riker again. And Elias got himself counted out again. Waste of time. Like, they just literally repeated last week. No storyline advancement, nothing. Just, all right, let's do the same thing we did last week. We don't know what else to do with these guys. That's what it felt like. So, total skippable segment. And then we had our main event match, and you kind of knew it wasn't going to be the final match of the show because this got going at 10:20. 40 minutes left of Raw. WWE doesn't do matches that long. They sometimes do long matches that might go 2 commercial breaks, but yeah, it was pretty much angle alert from the get-go. Because first of all, you had the VIP lounge out there on the stage, so you knew, well, somebody's running down. Lashley and MVP were there. AJ Styles and Omos made their entrance. Omos was flirting with the ladies, which AJ Styles did not appreciate. So we had the match, and pretty much right from the get-go, you had Omos trying to interfere, Lashley acting like he was going to interfere, and Viking Raiders made their way down to ringside, and I was like, well, there you have it, folks. They do the match, singles match, after the commercial break, gets turned into a tag team match. But to my surprise, we came back from commercial, and it was still AJ Styles versus Drew McIntyre. However, everybody was there at ringside, and, well, we still had about 30 minutes left of Raw, so at this point, I just stopped caring. I wasn't paying any attention to this match because I knew it was going to turn into a tag match. Like, why bother caring? You know where it's going. And everybody in the chat room's like, do it. So I got to do it. Letter grade down. I mean, probably 3 of them going off of my criteria, which you can tell probably not going to be a very highly rated Raw this week. Match continued, and then Lashley was sitting there at ringside. You know how this goes. McIntyre attacked Lashley, went in the ring. Lashley, of course, because they do it every single time, Lashley jumps in the ring and attacks McIntyre, causing a DQ. And Viking Raiders get in the ring. Commercial break. Even Stevie Wonder could see this coming. Tag team match, 6-man match. Lashley went to the back to change into his gear. He ran down. And the highlight of this was probably Drew McIntyre and Omos. Although McIntyre looked like a little kid standing next to Omos. I mean, that's the downside to Omos. Like, he makes everybody look like just a bunch of jabronis. Imagine Omos in AEW. Like, imagine Marco Stunt standing next to Omos. I feel like Omos is like 4 times the size of Marco Stunt. Probably 3 times the size of most of AEW's roster. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, why not just announce the tag match ahead of time? Because that's not how they do things. They got to fill time. So they got to stretch this out as long as possible and try to fill up those 3 hours with a variety of stuff, even if it's the same variety that we see every single week. So anyways, Omos got a little bit of a beatdown on Drew. Styles tagged in. Omos took out the Viking Raiders, sent them over the barricade. And then Styles tried to tag Omos, but he accidentally, out of desperation, he tagged Lashley. Lashley was unprepared. McIntyre caught him with the Claymore and pinned the WWE Champion 1, 2, 3, which, at least in one time in history, all but guaranteed McIntyre ain't winning on Sunday. Now, of course, WWE doesn't really go by that booking pattern. However, you got to think Lashley's winning now. After losing clean to McIntyre, you got to think that Lashley's retaining his title at Sunday's pay-per-view. But we'll talk about that Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, when we do our predictions for Hell in a Cell. That was Raw, and it was not terrible, but another Raw that you could probably skip. So I will give it a C-. It was not as bad as a couple of those Raws a few weeks ago, but it still wasn't something that was all that entertaining. It was pretty boring, especially when they do the same segments over and over again. You know, the typical interrupt the match and have a singles match end in a DQ, turn it into a tag team match. But one thing I would recommend, New Day versus Orton and Riddle. That was a really good match. And that Backstage, same with MVP. Those were the highlights. Seeing a lot of C's in the chat room. C- from Dr. NXT Scorpio and Michael Wayne, as well as Matt Helms and Terry Waller, and Mohammed, and the Game is on 100. I mean, a lot of C- in the chat. Let's see. Nathan Washington did give it a C+, and Mike B gave it a flat C, or a solid C. Matt with a $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Matt. I appreciate it. Says, do you keep track of letter grades for each show? If so, you should use them to do a year in review for each show at the end of the year. I was for a while, but I stopped doing it. I really should, though, just so I can remember what I liked and what I didn't like for reference. But yeah, I haven't exactly been good about keeping track of the letter grade, so I sometimes forget what I liked about a certain show or what I didn't like. Darren says, I've said it once, Aaron, your show saves the Monday evening. A+. Well, thank you for that, Darren. I appreciate it. And Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat says, watching Raw is as fun as having a sweaty scrotum. Ouch. Savage line of the night from Psycho Jet Black. So again, this coming Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, we'll be doing our predictions for Hell in a Cell. It's the Dynamite time slot, but since Dynamite is preempted, figured we'll take advantage of it, use that time slot. Join us then. Have a great night, everyone. Enjoy your week. Take it easy. and I will see you all next time.